Welcome back to OT Sports. Today we got our college football top 25 week 12 rankings. I'm very excited for this video. This might have been the hardest week to rank all top 25 teams just because of how all the teams have been playing recently and looking at resume, eye test, taking that all into consideration. I think this was probably the hardest week to rank all 25 teams, but I finalized my top 25 after a long time of thinking, and I'm very excited to jump right into this. If you're new around here, make sure you subscribe. We do college basketball every Monday, college football every Tuesday, NFL every Wednesday, and then NBA every Thursday. So make sure you subscribe. Turn on the notification bell to make sure you don't miss out on the video. But enough talking. I think we should just hop right into the top 25. We have a lot to talk about. So number 25, I got Oklahoma State. They lose a very just unexpected loss to UCF on the road. I was not expecting this at all. They got blown out. They really couldn't do anything. In all honesty, I have no idea what happened here. I mean, they just. I was huge on them coming off the win. I mean, I had them all the way up at 13 after the win against Oklahoma, and then they dropped this one against UCF, handing them their third loss. I mean, Oklahoma State had a lot of turnovers in this one. Their quarterback did not play a great game. Ollie Gordon was shut down completely. Um, yeah, just nothing was working for them. I probably just coming off the big win, they had a letdown week. I was not expecting this. I trusted Mike Gundy to coach his team up, and in all honesty, I was expecting them to finish 10-2 with most likely a Big 12 championship appearance and possible win. But now they got their second loss. I think they would still make it, but they're making it a little closer for that Big 12 race with only 2 games left. This is they got one this week against Houston. They need to win this one if they want to make the championship game. I think they do. I'm predicting a rebound game and a bounce back game after that one. But yeah, I had to fault him a lot because that was just a bad loss. Number 24, I got Tennessee. They looked bad on the road against Missouri. I expected them to keep it a lot closer than they did. Yeah, the offense didn't look good. The defense looked bad. I mean, they just unimpressed. The committee's a lot higher on them than I am. I don't know why. I just haven't really been a big Tennessee guy throughout this year. Joe Milton didn't look great. He had 267 passing yards, a touchdown and an interception. Um, I mean, yeah, the offense just I don't know. They just couldn't really get in the end zone. They couldn't really score. And Missouri's offense is always tough to shut down. They had like 300 yards on the ground. I don't know if that's exact, but it felt like that. Yeah, they just. I mean, Luther Burden didn't even do that well, and they still put up 36. So that's just a testament to how good Missouri is. Now this week they got Georgia coming to town. Unfortunately, I don't think Tennessee is quite good enough to beat them here. Honestly, this might be too close. I'll keep it. I got 37-24. I feel like Tennessee could get up for this game. It's at home. It's a huge rivalry game. The fans will come to show their support, but I can't predict them winning here. Georgia's been looking amazing recently, and yeah. So I had them moving down 6 spots. I have Georgia handing them their fourth loss this week, so they'll probably be out of the top 25. But we will see how that game affairs. Number 23, I got Kansas State moving up 2 spots. They dominate Baylor. The offense looks great, and yeah, they got a game on the road against Kansas. This is a Kansas team who I did have to drop out of my top 25 after having them at 16 last week. So I gave them a big bump last week. I did have to drop them this week. They were right there. I mean, I had 26 teams. If I was doing a top 26, they would be 26. I did have to drop them. They got a huge game. I mean, this is a huge game. Will probably determine whether Kansas State has a chance to go into the championship game. It's a huge rivalry game. It's in Kansas, but I do think Kansas State is slightly the better team. I'm going to pick them. I got Kansas State 35-28. They're favored by 8, even on the road. I do think they're the better team, so I'm going to pick them to win this one. Number 22, I got James Madison. The committee does not like James Madison. I don't know what it is, but they're 10-0. They dominate UConn as predicted. They got a game at home against App State. I do expect them to win. App State's not a horrible team, so maybe a little closer than you'd think, but still a 15-point win. I think James Madison is a very good team. I hope they can get the committee to, or the NCAA to lift their New Year's Six bowl ban. I don't even know if it's just bowl games. I think it might be conference championship too, which is very unfortunate. I hope the committee lifts that ban because it's just, I mean, this is their best season maybe in history. They're doing great in basketball. Like I said yesterday, they took down Michigan State, and they also beat UCF, who was the #1 team in soccer. So they're just having a program-wide boom. So good for them. It's fun to see. But yeah, I got them at 22. I got them moving up one. I feel like the committee should rank them. It's kind of unfortunate that they have not been ranked yet. The AP poll has them at 18. I'm not quite as high, but I do have them at 22. And I mean, yeah, I don't know. I got, I mean, I have to put them here. They're undefeated. I do really like what I've seen. Number 21, I got Iowa. Um, moving up 5 spots. They're 8-2. I considered not ranking them. I did ultimately end up at 21. So, but yeah, I mean they're 8-2 in the Big Ten. That's pretty good. Their defense is obviously dominant. The offense worries me a little. I do think they should be able to beat Illinois. I'm predicting 14-10. It's not going to be a high scoring game. Number 20, I got UNC moving up 4 spots. They looked good against Duke. Duke was without Riley Leonard, I believe. I'm not 100% on that. Um, yeah, they were without him, so the fact that you need a double overtime at home to beat them is a little bit worrisome. It is a huge rivalry game. The fourth quarter was fun to watch in this one. They win. Duke failed the 2-point, so UNC comes away with the win. They're 8-2 now, and they got a game on the road against Clemson. This is going to be a very tough one. I do expect them to win. I think close though. I think Clemson is starting to turn it around a little. Clemson, with a win here, they might be able to jump into the top 25 next week. I don't know though. They have 4 losses. Clemson is favored by 6.5. I mean, this is a huge game. Clemson has been picking up some pretty good wins recently. They beat Notre Dame a couple weeks back, and they did take down Georgia Tech last week, who isn't a horrible team. There's a conversation, but I do think UNC will win. They are the better team here. Number 19, I got Arizona. I'm moving up 3. They beat Colorado on the road. I was considering picking Colorado in that game last week. I did go with Arizona a little close, and it was a close game. Colorado was winning for, I don't want to say a lot of the game, but for about a quarter and a half, kind of half the second quarter, and, well, I don't know. It was, Colorado looked like they had it for about halfway through the second quarter, and then in the third quarter, Arizona did win on a last-second field goal, so good for them. They keep on winning. They're 7-3 now. And they got an upcoming game home against Utah. This is a very interesting one. Um, yeah, both these teams 7-3. Arizona has potential to get in somehow, surprisingly, get into that Pac-12 championship game. So they're both playing for huge. These are both. I don't know what I'm saying. They're both playing for something. It's not like they're not. I really like Arizona, but I do have to go with Utah. I just think they're a little bit better of a team. They're more experienced. Um, they know how to get wins this time of year, so I gotta go with Utah. As much as I love Arizona in the story, I think Utah is just the better team. Tulane, I got moving up 3. I might get some question for this, and honestly, I'm not too sure about this one in particular. I don't know, dude. I mean, they're really close with a lot of the teams behind them. Like, all the way till about Iowa. So, they could be 21, they could be 22. I don't know. I moved them up 3. They are 9-1, but they have been squeaking out some games recently. Now, see, like, just sitting here thinking about it, I want to put them lower now. I don't know. I gotta stick with it, but yeah, like I said, this week was the hardest week to rank all year. I got them at 18, but I might move them down a little next week. This might be a little too high. Because just looking at this now, they have had 4 games in a row. They won by 1 possession. They beat North Texas by 7, Rice by 2, East Carolina by 3, and Tulsa by 2. None of those teams are good. On the road against Florida Atlantic, I'm hoping I see some improvement. I got kind of a weird score, 35-15. I'm hoping they get it done, but I don't know. They've been squeaking by. They need a statement win here. I do think they're capable of it, so I'm going to predict it, but I don't know. Tulane's been kind of iffy recently. Notre Dame coming off the bye, the loss against Clemson, obviously a tough one, a rivalry game. Coming off the bye, I think they'll come ready to play. They're going to be well rested, and Wake Forest is not a super tough team, so I'm going to go Wake Forest. I'm going to go Notre Dame beating Wake Forest 38-10 in this one. Utah moving down 2. I don't know why the committee has them all the way at 22. They just don't like Utah. I'm not that harsh on them. I dropped them down 2. They were on the road against the top 5 team and lost by 7. They didn't really get anything going in the second half, but they looked good in the first half. They were leading. The second half was really kind of a lower, not as much scoring. There was quite a bit of scoring in the second quarter specifically, but Utah really couldn't get anything going in the second half, and there was no scoring in the fourth quarter. So a more of a defensive battle, which is not what you get from Washington typically. Braxton Barnes is looking all right. He played an okay game. 267 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. The turnovers did cost them in this game though. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Washington, another huge win for their resume. I do really like this one. Utah's a good team in my opinion. The committee uh, doesn't really value this a ton, which is kind of weird to me, but it's whatever. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It's weird that it just makes me a little bit questionable about my ranking at 16 just because the committee has him at 22. The AP poll has him right at 16. I don't know. I'm gonna keep him at 16. I do think they beat Arizona. I don't. I think they're just a lot better of a team. I think the coaching is better. I think Utah will rebound. I mean they they were leading into halftime. They were in the game the entire time against a top 5 team on the road. I just the committee is very low on them, just making me I don't know why I couldn't tell you. I had them at 16. I think they beat Arizona and boost them up quite a bit. Hopefully, I just don't know why the committee doesn't like them. It's a little weird. LSU I got moving up 4 spots at 15. I think they are the best 3-loss team. I think that's fair to say. I don't think that's really a question to anyone. They dominate Florida. Well, I don't know about dominate. They had a dominant second half. Um, And yeah, again, the offense looks great. The defense doesn't. Against Georgia State, I do expect them to score a bunch of points and give up a little bit less than normal, but it is Georgia State and it's in LSU, a night game. I got 55-23. Unfortunately, no SEC title game for them. Number 14, Oklahoma moving up 3. They dominate West Virginia. Huge rebound win after the loss to the Cowboys. Now they go to BYU on the road. I think they win big again. I do think I don't know who they have last or next week. TCU at home. I think Oklahoma should finish 10-2. Now, does that mean Big 12 championship game? I don't know. I think they're going to need some help from OK State losing a game. OK State has Houston and BYU, so they're going to need some help there if they want to beat Texas again. I do think they win this week, though. Number 13, Ole Miss, moving down 3. They looked bad against Georgia. Yeah, Georgia just dominates them. I didn't expect them to win. I did expect them, though, to keep it closer than they did. They lost by a whopping 35 points. And, yeah, they couldn't get a stop on defense. And they really didn't get much going on offense, especially in the second half. I do think they rebound against UL Monroe. I don't know why the SEC does these kind of games this late in the year, but they do for some reason. I think Ole Miss should be able to win big in this one. Number 12, Penn State moving down 3. They cannot. It's kind of similar. Well, not exactly the same. They couldn't get much going on offense, particularly in the second half. They were in it for a while. They were in the game the whole time. But the defense, again, looks very good. I think Penn State has one of the best defenses in the country. But, yeah, they lose 24-15 to Michigan without Jim Harbaugh. They couldn't stop the run. Michigan just ran the ball down their throats late in the game, and Penn State gets a late touchdown to make it look like a little closer than it was. I don't know why they didn't punt. I don't know why you'd go for it there on your own 30 or whatever it was. It basically just gave Michigan the game. Corum takes it in for the touchdown. You got to punt that. Your defense has been so good. You got to trust them. It's an 8-point game. You can't be going for it there. There's plenty of time. Your defense has been getting stops all game. And you had timeouts still. You got to punt that one. I don't know what that decision was. I don't know what the decision thinking process was there. Home against Rutgers, I think they should be able to win. I got 30-14 in that one. Number 11, Oregon State. Moving up 1, they look dominant against Stanford. It is against Stanford, though, so you can take what you want from there. But now this is the big one. They have Washington. Their next 2 weeks are against Washington and Oregon, 2 teams hopeful for playoffs. Oregon State, unfortunately, will not get there with their 2 losses already to Utah and Arizona. But they have a very nice opportunity to spoil both of these teams' season. Oregon State is nothing to look past. They are, in my opinion, by far the 3rd best team in the Pac-12. I think there's a bit of a tier gap. I think that Washington and Oregon are in their own tier, and I think Oregon State is in their own tier. And then you can fill out the next couple. I think Arizona, USC, Utah could all be in a similar tier. But this is a huge opportunity for them. This could potentially knock Washington out of the playoffs. Now, if Washington was to go out there and beat Oregon in the Pac-12 championship game, and I think they still have somebody coming up next week that might be tough. No, it's Washington. Well, it is a rivalry game. It is the last ever Apple Bowl, so maybe Washington State gets one last crack at them. But looking at the matchup, I think the matchup favors Oregon State. heavily in this one. Now, Oregon State's offense isn't the greatest. I do really love their defense. Their defense is elite, one of the better ones in college football. And I really do think the matchup favors the Beavers. It's at home too, which I think is huge. I think Washington having the high-powered offense and the kind of lackluster defense, I think Oregon State should be able to score some against them. Um, and the fact that it's at home, I think helps the offense out a lot. They don't have to travel, and Washington does have to travel. Washington has played some tough teams recently, some physical teams. They beat USC by 10, and then last week they beat Utah by 7. I think the fact that Utah's defense was able to hold Washington to 35 while with Utah being on the road, I think is a huge. Just looking at this here, I think that's huge because I think Oregon State's defense is better than Utah's, and Oregon State's at home. Washington has played some very tough games recently. They do say defense travels. Washington does not have a great defense. So, I just, everything for me is pointing towards Oregon State. I'm actually going to take Oregon State. I think just because I feel like Washington's primed for a letdown. They've kind of been squeaking by some wins. I don't know about squeaking by. They've played 2 very tough games in a row. They got the Apple Bowl next week. I'm not saying they're going to look ahead to that, but that could be a factor. It is on the road. The offense really hasn't. I mean, they've had 2 struggle games, but besides those, they really haven't had one. This could be one. I have them number 11, a number 11 ranked team on the road after playing 2 very tough games. Not the greatest defense. You can't always rely on your offense to play perfect every single game. And Oregon State's defense being one of the better ones, one of the best college football. I think all the signs for me are pointing towards Oregon State. I'm actually going to take them to beat Washington. I got 33-30. Number 10, Missouri moving up 5. Very impressive win over Tennessee. Kind of already talked about it. Tennessee just really couldn't get anything going. They couldn't also really get a stop. Missouri just ran the ball over them, which we really haven't seen from them. So they really impressed me, showed me that they're capable of doing a lot on offense. They got a home game against Florida. I think they should be able to win. I got 35-24. Maybe a little closer than you'd think. I think it is a little closer just because they just had a huge performance against Tennessee. But yeah, they're a top 10 team in my opinion. They've looked like the best 2-loss team in my opinion as well, which I think is very impressive. So good for the Tigers. You'll love to see that. Now we move to the 1-loss teams. I did consider dropping Louisville down. And now that I'm thinking about it here, I considered dropping them below Penn State and Ole Miss. That's how low I was considering. I didn't ultimately go that far, so that would have put them at 13, I believe. I did keep them at 9 just because they're 1 loss, but they did squeak by a win against Virginia at home. This was a bad Virginia team. They needed a fourth quarter comeback to win this one. Now, to be fair, Virginia had a very good third quarter, so Louisville was in control for the first half. Then Virginia came out after halftime and put up 21 points in the third quarter due to some turnovers by Louisville. This was a Friday game, so maybe that's why it was a little weird. But yeah, at home against the 2-8 Virginia team, I don't really like seeing them struggle this heavily. I did ultimately keep them ahead of the 2-loss teams, but they're very close to falling below. And they have a big opportunity on the road against Miami. And if they win out, they have an argument to be in the playoffs. They have some nice wins, and they would have a win over Florida State and be a 1-loss ACC champ. Ultimately, I don't think a 1-loss ACC champ is good enough this year, unfortunately. unless it's Florida State. If it is Florida State, then yes, they could still get in. But if it is Louisville, I don't know. Um, on the road against Miami, I think they lose, honestly. I don't know. They've been squeaking by recently. I feel like they're due for a letdown. This one could be it. Miami's not a horrible team. It's on the road here, which worries me a little. And yeah, I just can't really see Louisville finishing with one loss this regular season, unfortunately. As much as I would love to see it, I'm not the highest on Louisville. I'm gonna give them their second loss this week against Miami. It's on the road, tough place to play. I think they're kind of due for a loss. Number 8, Alabama. Now this is when you get to here, this is the real meat and potatoes. These are the true playoff contenders, in my opinion. And I guess I don't want to say the lowest of them, but technically they are the lowest ranked one. I Alabama here is getting better and better every single week, which you love to see. Um, and yeah, they're getting better at the right time. And if they were to beat Georgia in the SEC championship, I mean, you got to put them in the playoffs. One loss SEC champ, I feel like they deserve it. They only lost to Texas, so they have a clear path to the playoffs. Now, I'm just gonna skip over this. They're gonna destroy Chattanooga. I don't care if they're 7-3. Alabama's playing the best football that they've played this season. They have it at home. Again, I don't know why the SEC does this. And yeah, Alabama dominated Kentucky last week on the road, which I thought could be close. Yeah, they win 49-21. Great win. Kentucky's not a bad team. But yeah, Alabama has a clear path to the playoffs. I don't know about to say clear. They have to get through Georgia. But yeah, I mean it's Alabama controls their own destiny, which you like to see if you're a team competing for the playoffs. And yeah, they're playing some great football right now. Alabama's a scary team. I do have them at 8 though. And the reason for that is the Texas win over Alabama is huge. I mean, I don't think people really understand how big this is. This could potentially leave Alabama out of the playoffs, as crazy as that is to say, but when you look at it, I mean, imagine a scenario. Washington goes undefeated as a Pac-12 champ. Florida State goes undefeated as an ACC champ. Ohio State or Michigan goes undefeated. We'll just say Michigan for this scenario. Michigan goes undefeated and wins the Big Ten. That's 3. That's your top 3 right there. Now you got Texas, a one-loss Big 12 champ, or Alabama, a one-loss SEC champ. I I don't know. What do you do? Because Alabama would have a win over the number 1 team according to the committee. We'll get to what I think about Georgia in a little. I don't know what you do. I really don't, because Texas beat them. So, like, and it was in Tuscaloosa. So, I know it was early in the year, so maybe that's what they go to. I just can't see how you leave Alabama out. Maybe they get Florida State out. Because you got to put Michigan in for sure, and you got to put Washington in because at that point they'd have 2 wins over Oregon and some other huge wins. Oregon State, Utah, USC. So I don't know what you do there. So this Texas win against Alabama is huge. They squeak by against TCU, and I did consider moving them behind Alabama. I just couldn't bring myself to do that just because Texas beat them. That win is huge for these rankings because, in all honesty, I think Alabama has been playing better through the past several weeks here, but Texas is without Quinn Ewers. Um, So that's obviously a factor. TCU almost comes back. This is the second week where Texas has almost allowed second half comebacks. They got to get better at that. I think Quinn Ewers is going to be back this week on the road against Iowa State. Iowa State, this is a huge game for Iowa State. Don't underestimate this Iowa State team. They are competing for a Big 12 um, championship spot, and if they win this one, this really shakes up the Big 12 because then I don't know who gets in. It might be Oklahoma State and Iowa State. So that would be insane. I do think Texas narrowly wins this one, but I mean, this is like Iowa State's Super Bowl. This is a huge one. I think Iowa State gets up for this game. It's on the road. This is a little scary for Texas just because even if Quinn Ewers is back, I don't know if he's 100%. So this is a very big upset alert in my opinion, and it's a night game. I'm concerned for Texas. They've been squeaking by recently. I do think they'll win. I just can't predict them to lose. Number 6, I got Oregon. I still have them at this as the top ranked one loss team, but this week against USC they didn't dominate them. They didn't dominate them like I kind of wanted to see, but they did win 36-27. USC is not a bad team, and I was very surprised that this game was not like 67-65. Oregon's defense really shut down USC's high powered offense, and Oregon's offense didn't even look too particularly dominant. They did still score 36. They got a game on the road against Arizona State. They should win 45. I got 45-10. They should win big. And yeah, this is another one of those teams, they control their own destiny because I think they'll win this week. Maybe they look ahead. This could actually be a trap game when you look at it. It's on the road. It's not a night game, which is unfortunate. I think that could favor Arizona State a little. This is an Arizona State team that had Washington on the ropes until they threw a pick six. They were about to beat Washington. But yeah, this isn't. The record won't show you. This Arizona State team will put up a fight. So this could be a trap game. Oregon looking ahead possibly to the Civil War, but I do think Dan Lanning is a good head coach. I don't think he'll let that happen. So this is where the huge shakeup begins. The top 5, just huge shakeup this week. I got Florida State moving down 1. I really haven't seen them dominate, which it sucks. I had to drop them down 1. They didn't look great against Miami. It was at home. I did expect them to look a little better than they did. And yeah, just not particularly what I wanted to see. They do win by 7 though, so there is that. It was a huge rivalry game, but through the past couple weeks they haven't really dominated anyone. So I did drop them 1. I do think they will dominate North Alabama though. If they don't, it might be time for concern. Florida State's in an interesting spot because if they were to win out and win the ACC, I don't see a world where they don't get in. But if they were to drop maybe the ACC championship game, I don't think they get in with a one-loss team, not the best resume. One-loss team with no conference championship game and not a great resume, I don't think they'd get in. If they were to lose one in the regular season, I don't know who they have last week of the year. I think it's Florida on the road. That could get tricky. If they were to lose that one and win the ACC, there's still a chance, but I think they should be able to go undefeated pretty easily. They have a very easy path. It's going to be North Alabama, Florida, and then probably Louisville. I know they haven't clinched, but they have a chance to this week. I think Florida State dominates North Alabama. It's North Alabama. I don't know why this game is at this point in the year, but it is. I have Washington going up to 4. They beat Utah. It didn't look too impressive doing so, but with back-to-back resume boosters with the USC and and Utah wins, and then they still have that huge win against Oregon, I did feel the right that I could move them up to number 4. But yeah, like I said, I think this is just a matchup nightmare for Washington. I think Oregon State wins this one. It's a night game. It's on the road. Oregon State has a great defense, not the best offense, but it is in. It is in. It is at Oregon State, and yeah, I don't know. Washington's played some tough games recently. They say defense travels. Washington doesn't have the best defense. The offense could get have some troubles, especially against a great defense in a tough environment. I think the fans will get up for this game against a tough defense after a bunch of tough games. I don't know. All signs are pointing towards Oregon State. I think Washington loses this one. As much as I hate to say, Ohio State I have at 3. This is kind of the middle ground in the top 5 chaos I have this week. I have them staying here. They look great against Michigan State, but it is Michigan State, and they were at home. But they did look good. The defense looks elite once again, and the offense is looking like it's coming together. Again, it was against Michigan State, but Ohio State could have put up 70 if they wanted. As you can see, the second half, they scored 3 points. Yeah, they could have. Marvin Harrison Jr., probably the best player in college football. I don't know if he wins the Heisman, but just because the stats aren't really there. But he did have 3 touchdowns in the first half. Home against Minnesota, they should again win this one. I think Minnesota can score a touchdown though. They're not quite as bad as Michigan State, but they are not too far off. I think Ohio State wins 38-7. I think it's kind of a similar story. I think Ohio State will not play their starters in the second half, and I think Minnesota can probably get like a garbage time touchdown or something. Number 2, I have Michigan. Dropping down one for the first time. I have a new number 1 ranked team for the first time all year. I've had Michigan at number 1, despite them not playing anyone, which may surprise some people. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy to say because they finally play a good team and I drop them. On the road against Penn State, that's a tough one. With no Jim Harbaugh. Very tough game to win. They did win, but I think part of it was just because Penn State had some poor decision making late in that game, and really throughout the game. I don't know what they were doing. The game plan just wasn't great. Yeah, it was a 1-score game for pretty much the whole thing. Michigan and Penn State both score a late touchdown. Not really so much that Michigan has been doing worse. I think they've been doing better. And they still moved down 1. I think they should be able to beat Maryland pretty big. But yeah, number 1, I gotta go Georgia. I mean, as much as I hate to say it, they might win 3 in a row. They are just looking amazing. They welcome a top 10 team to Athens, and they just dominate them on all levels of the game. They win by 35 points against the top 10 team. That is just ridiculous. The defense, I don't know if I'd say it's elite, but it is very good in the offense. Carson Beck is probably one of the more underrated players in college football. He's having a very sneaky good season. And I think there's an argument to be made that even if Georgia were to lose to Alabama in the SEC championship, they would still have 1 loss. And I think there's still a huge argument for them to make the playoffs. So, in a year where the SEC isn't as good as normal, well, I don't know if I would say that anymore. They've really shaped out to be, once again, one of the better leagues in college football. I don't know if I'd say the best, because the Pac-12 is, I'd probably say they are the best this year, ultimately. So the argument that this is a down year for them really isn't valid anymore, in my opinion. 6 ranked teams. And Kentucky, Florida, and A&M, and Auburn, all pretty good teams as well. So, yeah, I already talked about this. I think Georgia does beat Tennessee. I don't see a world. I think Tennessee's fans could get up for this game, so it could bring them some problems. Georgia with not having the best defense in the past, but I don't really think Tennessee's offense is a problem. It is on the road though, so that could create some problems, but I don't know. I think Georgia's just playing the best football at the right time. I gotta go number one. I mean, huge wins against. I mean, they beat two top 10 teams in back-to-back weeks, and they dominate Ole Miss. They looked a little. They still looked great against Missouri. That one was on the road too, and I think Missouri is probably a better team than Ole Miss in all honesty. So yeah, two huge wins. I mean, I gotta put Georgia at number one. They're getting healthy too. Brock Bowers is back and he looked great. I gotta go Georgia at one as much as it pains me to say it. So yeah, that's gonna do it for the video. I think I talked for like, I don't know, close to an hour. I hope it's not that long, but yeah, I'm sorry about that. There was a ton to talk about this week. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. That's gonna do it for our Week 12 Top 25. Huge shakeup this week. I'm very interested to see how all this plays out. It will play itself out, and I'm gonna love to see it. So yeah, that's gonna do it. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like. I'd really appreciate that. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Turn on the notification bell to make sure you don't miss out on any of our upcoming videos. We do college basketball every Monday night, college football every Tuesday night, NFL every Wednesday night, and NBA every Thursday night. So yeah, make sure you subscribe. And as always in the description, my X and Discord are linked. You can follow that, join that, whatever you'd like to do. We will see you guys tomorrow. Oh, one more thing. The videos on the screen right now are my two most recent videos. Make sure you go check those out. Those are some great videos. College basketball and NBA. And then, yeah, I think that's all I got for you. I'll see you guys tomorrow with our week 11, I think. I think it's week 11. Our week 11 NFL picks should be a pretty fun video. We'll see you guys.